Welcome to Effective Communication Part 4, the skill of effective communication. In this video, I hope to begin to give you some skills to teach you how to have effective communication and that you can leave a conversation with some unity, if not total unity. And so, one of the most important things to remember when you're communicating is that the environment stays safe. We talked a little about that in a previous video, but it is very important because when someone does not feel safe to talk, they will not share. And then we don't get anywhere. So, in that, we want to make sure throughout all of our conversation, it stays safe and that respect from both parties are a must in order to continue on in a conversation. At any time that the conversation becomes negative or unsafe, the conversation is to pause, and that what is making it unsafe is to be addressed. And so what are some examples where the conversation needs to be paused? Is that at any time somebody is raising their voice, if they are name calling, if they are intimidating, giving threats, those times the conversation must be paused. In other words, if someone's starting to raise their voice, you can ask them, you're starting to raise your voice. And hopefully, if they understand the skills, then they will say, I'm sorry, just give me a minute. You're right. I am in the emotion right now and I need to get back. Sometimes it may be a minute. Sometimes just you stating it brings it down. Now, if they refuse and they want to stay in the moment, in that emotion, and their emotions are out of control, then the conversation needs to end. Because if you're in the emotion, it will not be a constructive conversation. That's when they go negative. That's when they get destructive and abusive. So that is number one. Now we're going to go on with the steps. And as we're doing the steps, at any time again, if it's unsafe, what is making it unsafe will be addressed. Another example is you just rolled your eyes. Why did you roll your eyes? I'm feeling like you're saying what I'm saying is stupid, or that you could care less about what I'm saying. And then again, it's addressed and if able to continue on. So we're going to start with step number one. Step number one is that we are coming into a conversation to listen. Very important. You are listening to hear the person's heart. You are listening so that you can know where they're coming from, and also so maybe that you can learn something as well. Because we are not to come into a conversation to force somebody to see it my way. And this way, we talked about that before, because then there's, someone thinks they're a winner, but nobody's really a winner. And then really you're both losers. And so we want to come together to be heard, to hear, and to leave with some unity, if not total unity. So step number one, again, is to listen, to hear the person's heart, to put yourself into their shoes. It is not to listen so I can real quick tell you what I'm thinking. It is not to be aggressive or to get ammunition to come back at them. That is not what we're listening for. We are listening to hear the person's heart and to get into their shoes to understand where they are coming from. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over 3 different steps. And so for time's sake, I'm going to probably just do one step at a time so the video doesn't go on too long. So with that, I will continue on using those same 3 illustrations, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then the follow-up. So with that, we're going to start with step number 1, where we are going to listen to get into the person's shoes. And what does that look like? And so during this time, you are there to gather information. You are there to ask more questions to clarify, and then you are to repeat back what the person said so that you can clarify that it is indeed correct. And if anything is being misunderstood or being said incorrectly, it can be corrected in this first step. Now, in the next step, the other person will get a chance. But in this first step, you're listening to hear. You're not listening to say any of your feelings. This is about the other person right now. So the three things that I'm going to use are a request, an issue, and a topic. So the first thing we're going to use is a request, and it's going to be a teenager coming to the parents to request being able to go out with some friends. So the teenager comes to the parents and she tells them that she wants to go hang out with Amber and Amber's friends, and they want to go bowling, and afterwards they're going to spend the night at one of Amber's friends. So at this time, the parents aren't to say what they're thinking at all. They're gathering information, and they're also wanting that teen to know they're being heard. So again, when you want to know someone is listening, my eye contact is going to be directed to you. My facial expressions are not going to show disgust or anything like that. I'm going to be very attentive. And this is how you build trust. So she comes and she asks that request. So the parents repeat back what is said. So they may say, okay, so you're wanting to go out with a bunch of friends that we don't know and then sleep at one of their houses. Well, the teenager would come back with, well, you know Amber, but yes, I'm wanting to go out with Amber's friends that you don't know and then spend the night at one of Amber's homes. And so now the parent can still ask more questions to clarify. And so they might say, are there going to be any adults with you? How are you going to get from point A to point B? Any questions that they want to ask to know more, they can ask at this time. And then once they've asked all the questions, then they can summarize what they're saying, and they are to repeat it back. And at that time, your teenager should say, yes, exactly. Step one. Now, another example is an issue. And we're going to go back and use the issue of the husband coming to the wife and letting her know that her yelling at the children the way she does is not healthy. And remember, in a previous video, she was denying it and trying to deflect the blame. But here, he comes to her and she then repeats back what he is saying. She might say something like, okay, so what I hear you saying is that you're concerned that my yelling is having a negative impact on the kids and is not healthy. And if that's correct, he will say yes. She may ask other questions if she wants to get deeper into examples or what she's thinking. But at this point, she is just repeating back his concern or his issue. Now, the plus on this that you see different is that she is acknowledging it. She's not trying to deny or deflect, because when she was denying and deflecting, the issue would never get solved. But here, because she is acknowledging what he is saying, you're going to see in later steps that they are actually going to get to work on the issue, and the issue can be solved. But if we deny and deflect and all that, then we never get to it. And then the last one is a topic. And, just this time of year that I'm doing the video, we just had an election. There's a lot of topics out there that are very hot. And the sad thing is that people don't want to talk about them and to hear the other person. They just so often are yelling, putting intimidating comments out there, calling names. None of that helps bring unity. It all brings more division. And I'm hoping through these videos, we can learn how to come together to hear each other, even if it's to walk away with a deeper understanding of the other person. And so with that, we're going to use the issue of school. And so we're going to use the example in step 1 that people are concerned that they may be bringing back Bible reading in the public school systems. And these people know that back early 60s that Madalyn O'Hair was an atheist, and she did not agree with a God, so she didn't want her son taught things that were contrary to her beliefs. Well, she took it to court, and the court listened to her, and they granted that no longer was somebody forced to have Bible reading. One problem was that they totally took it out and didn't offer it at all. But with that, we have to understand that we want to be able to hear that person. And we want to be able to hear why they don't want Bible reading at all, what their thinking is on that. And at this step, we can even have empathy and say, yes, I can understand Madalyn, or I can understand somebody not wanting to have their children taught contrary to what they believe. So with all of that, the other person has not shared their thoughts. They have just listened to the concerns and may, again, have asked more questions. And that gives that other person a chance to agree or disagree. So they may say things like, so what I hear you saying is that it isn't good for the school systems to be teaching their children contrary to what others believe. Is that correct? Yes. And with that, now we can go on to talk and maybe hear each other. So the one person listened to the heart of the teenager. The woman listened to the issue her husband's having with her raising her voice with the children. And the one person has listened to why the other person does not want Bible reading in the school system. Now, in the next step, we're going to see how the other person is going to be able to be heard. And so in the next video, I will discuss steps 2 and 3 and kind of close out with that so that, again, these videos are not too long. So with that, step 1, we're going to listen. We're going to listen to hear the heart. We're going to listen to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, and we're going to acknowledge their hurt or their concern. We are going to, at all times, make it safe. So with that, that's step 1. So tune in for the next video, which again will be steps 2 and 3. Thank you.